friends? Hope you're all well. Yes, good to see you all. Good to see you all. Shush, hands, shush. We got insane news. Let's bring the music down a little bit. Loads of news. I was minding my own business when some YouTuber decided to get his hands on a second-hand Switch 2 motherboard and is now spilling the beans. Let me know if you're there. Let me know if you can hear me, see me. I think we're live. I hope we're live. We're going to go straight into the first article. We're going to go watch over his video. It's Geekerwan, who has basically got his hands on a second-hand Switch 2 motherboard and has confirmed the T239 is in the is the SoC. So we're going to go over that. He even does some tests to see what kind of performance we can expect. Of course, we have seen by now a bunch of videos and games, so we're going to look into all of that. But my friends, I also have some other things. We got, of course, don't forget the Switch 2 giveaway we have also, which will be happening on the first day of the Switch 2. We're going to be doing, assuming I get mine on day one, I have got mine pre-ordered, we're going to be doing a 24-hour stream. Yes, we will indeed. And so if you want to win yourself a chance of a Switch 2, make sure you enter that competition by turning up on the day. You got to be subscribed to the channel. Follow me on the description below on TikTok and Twitter and everywhere. It's all in the description. And of course, make sure you subscribe. So I can see people we got in the chat already. We got Bane's in the house. Bane, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much, my friend. All the caps for Bane. Iyoku's in the house as well. ¿Qué tal, Iyoko, amigo mío? We are going to go, so of course the topic of today is, let me just get there, is of course this bad boy here. If I switch over now, I came prepared. You can see, Booja, someone, yes indeed, has got the Nintendo Switch 2's hardware early, spilled the beans, my friend. Don't worry, we're going to get into everyone's questions later on in the show. Keep your comments coming. Bane, you didn't have to do it. Everyone hashtag Mr. Bane. Thank you so much, Bane. Another claps for him. Oh, you can't hear that. There you go. More claps for Bane. Right. So we're gonna get into the first. We're gonna quickly read over this, and then let me bring the music down further. I want some volume. There we go. We're gonna read this really quickly, and then we're gonna watch the actual video of the YouTuber. The channel is Geekerwan. It's a 20-minute video. We won't watch all of it, but if you do want to watch all of it, it is in the description below. So I applaud you. I urge you to go and watch it. Look, if I read this quickly to you guys, as it says, a YouTuber was able to secure the... Can you guys see that all right? Just in case you can't, let me bring myself off. Give me a second. I'm going to make the extra large for you guys if I can find it. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Right, there we go. So, YouTube was able to secure a Nintendo Switch 2 motherboard ahead of the console's release. The Switch 2 features a 207mm squared NVIDIA SoC with 12 SMSs. Switch 2 performance will be comparable to Steam Deck and GTX 1050 Ti. We're about, so here it says we're about a month away from the street date for the Nintendo Switch 2, but someone already managed to secure the motherboard inside the upcoming console. YouTuber Geekerwan purchased a second-hand motherboard from what they describe as Chinese eBay, and after confirming some details hidden within the PCB, found that it was a proper Nintendo Switch 2 board. The YouTuber was able to do a full breakdown and hardware analysis of the board, providing the technical details on the Switch 2 that Nintendo has yet to reveal. And we are going to be watching all of that. Do not panic, my good friends. We're going to be watching all of that indeed in the video. I'm just keeping an eye on your questions as well. Welcome here, Rock and Roller, Pat Campion, of course. Welcome to you guys. Here is a picture of everything, yo, bro. The Switch 2 motherboard. You see everything here. The SoC, what's this? Realtek audio codec, NVIDIA SoC right here. We're going to go into all the details in a second. There are some handy pictures, though, which I hadn't seen at first, which shows you, compares the GPU performance. In fact, let's get a bigger picture of that bad boy so you guys can see that. So here, you can see the Switch 2. You can see can you see the mouse? I'm not sure if you can. No, you cannot see the mouse, can you? No. So you can see the third one down here is the Switch 2 239 ampere, which is, well, he shows is in the Switch 2. And you can see it further there. So it's underneath, just underneath the GTX 1050 Ti. It is above the Steam Deck that we can see there. And it is, and then here down here, you can see it, the Switch 2 again, that's in handheld. So in handheld, you can see here its performance. And it is way away, right at the bottom there, you can see the original Switch. And so he mentions, unlike NVIDIA saying it was 10 times the graphics, it's about 7.5 plus or times, so 7.5 times the graphical power on handheld, and in docked, it's about seven times better graphics performance. So that's some of what we can see there. Further down here, we can see it says, hold on, let me just switch view. Further down, it says the board Geekerwan was able to get hold of has all of the core hardware for the Switch 2 intact. It features 12 gigabytes, of course, of memory running, which we know about that. Was it running at 8533 MTSs and split across 2 memory dies, along with a MediaTek MT, bunch of numbers for bandwidth, for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Of course, the interesting bit of the kit is the NVIDIA SoC. That's what we want to know. What is powering this? What is powering this? And it says, where is it? It clocks in at 207 millimeters squared, which is almost double the size of the Tegra X1 SoC featured in the original Switch. The chip itself reveals the T239 name, which was rumored forever, which has been the rumored chip for the Nintendo Switch 2 for close to 4 years. So here we go. Later on, it says Geekerwan was able to map out a die shot of the chip showing 8 A78C CPU cores crammed next to a massive Ampere-based GPU. The Ampere GPU carries the same architecture as NVIDIA's RTX 30 series graphics cards, and the die shot shows a 12 SM, which would total 1,536 CUDA cores. A lot of number, a lot of cores, a lot of graphics. For context, that's a little more than half of the cores available in a desktop RTX 3050. So there you go. Little more than half of the cores available in a desktop RTX 3050 graphics card. Geekerwan insists that the closest point of comparison for the Switch 2 SoC is a downclocked RTX 250 laptop. Right, so, and I believe that is pretty good, right, Bane? And I believe we're going to watch, I don't want to show the entire video because it's like 20 minutes long, but we're going to go through the video and pick out the best parts. And then after the video, we'll discuss, we'll, see what you guys in the chat think. And then we'll go on to the rest of the day's Nintendo Switch 2 news. There actually was loads of news already. And then this popped up, which is insane. Insane. So if I go over there, you should be able to see, this is the video here. Again, if you want to watch the whole video, it's in the description below. Make sure you give him a sub as well, because this is amazing what we're about to see. Tony's in the house as well. Tony, how's it going? Right, so we're gonna play this bad boy. Let me know that you guys can hear it nice and clear, and we're gonna scatter through the most interesting parts.
On this board, well, it all thanks to Xianyu, which is basically Chinese eBay. At first, we thought that was just kind of, parody. But then we zoomed in.
So let me know in the chat if you can hear this.
According to the double Type-C port and the package of the CPU, holy cow, that is the real deal. And we just bought this Switch 2 motherboard for about 150 bucks.
So like,
I actually
straight off the bat, you can see it compares it. That is, there we go. Hold on, you get a little comparison.
Just bought this Switch 2 motherboard for about 100. And we zoomed in on the photos.
So you can see the one he bought there and the one that was leaked like, months and months ago. And you can see it's exactly the same motherboard, everything in place. The chips here, the SoC is there. We can see it.
According to the double Type-C port and the package of the CPU, holy cow.
There we go. Look, check it out. Check that bad boy out, my friends. But that is the SoC. Is that the 239? Later on, we're going to see it. You get to see it all.
Oh, that is the real deal. And we just bought this Switch 2 motherboard for about 150 bucks. I actually tried to power it up, but unfortunately it didn't boot at all. So I'm not sure if it's damaged or missing
So there we
parts.
go.
Just an unfinished sample straight from the factory. Either way, we obviously can't build a full Switch 2 out of it, let alone play any games on it. But what we can do is to reverse engineer this NVIDIA chip on Switch 2. We can use a microscope or grind it down to get a die shot and figure out exactly what kind of hardware the Switch 2 is packing, how many CPU cores, what's the GPU spec. We will find out very soon. On top of that, we can send it in for FibSam analysis to check whether it's built on Samsung's 8nm or 5nm process. And if that is not enough, we'll also benchmark a laptop GPU.
Here we go. So there's the laptop GPU, which is a RTX 2050, which he says is comparable to what the Switch 2 239 is able to output, which is insane. We've already seen Bane in the chat already said that is pretty damn good. And you're going to get some of the results later on. I believe he benchmarks it so you can see, what does he show? He does show Cyberpunk. He tries to show Monster Hunter Wilds, and that does not come across really well. But again, it's different showing the benchmark between two different things. And of course, we know the developers are going to be making games from the ground up on the Switch 2, right? So it's not a one-to-one showing a rough benchmark. We have to see what the developers can do with the dev kit, with the hardware from day one, from the scratch, from all the scratch up. So let's carry on.
With similar specs.
By the way, hola Sandwich, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Qué bien verte aquí.
To estimate the performance of the Switch 2. Anyway, let's dive into the heart of the Nintendo Switch 2.
If you had two cars or more on finance between 2015 and 2021.
There we go.
First thing first, let's compare Switch 2's motherboard with OG Switch and Switch OLEDs. And it immediately pops out in terms of its size. Not only because Switch 2 is physically getting bigger, but Nintendo also eliminated the daughter board design of the cartridge.
This is all cool. He just does some size comparisons, but I think what we want to see... Here we go. We want to see some
Nintendo as usual.
Some actual
here
games.
In the middle is our rockstar, the SoC from NVIDIA. A massive 207
Here we go. Here's the comparison
die,
shots.
Nearly double the size of a Tegra X1 from the OG Switch.
Double the size.
The smaller variants from the Switch OLED. In comparison, we got our RTX 3050 Ti's GA107, AMD's Ryzen 7840H, Apple M2, and Qualcomm's X Elite. And Switch 2's die size is bigger than any of them above. But I have to remind you, bigger doesn't mean beefier. Because the size largely depends on the fabrication process, on the transistor density, let's say. As the part number suggests, the chip is called GMLX30 Rev A1. It's from Samsung's fabrication and packaged on week 21, 2024 in Taiwan. And now it's time to decap the chip and dig a bit further. We first use a metallurgical microscope to peek at the metal layer.
This technology here is insane. Like the way they can microscope all the way into a chip is crazy.
Stamp. Well, the Switch 2's chip really is called
Here we go, though. There we go.
T230.
Confirmed. T239 chip is confirmed right there in that shot. The chip that was rumored forever to be powering the Switch 2 is confirmed in this incredible microscopic shot right here. There you go. Confirmation.
I swear I saw that rumor during COVID time, and today we finally got it proved. As you can see, T239 isn't exactly a new chip. It got taped out back in 2021. For comparison, we also decapped a GA107 taped out in 2020 and released in 2021, a typical 1-year gap. So the 4-year gap for the T239 is certainly quite long. And it kind of backs up
that's interesting, right? So I believe, so you said the two, that's what he said, right? The T239 came out, and was it 2021? So it's like a 4-year-old chip at this point. Is it 4? Is that 4? Yeah, 4-year-old chip. And I believe the Tegra X1 that was originally in the Switch was already, how old was it? Wasn't it like already? I think it was. Was it already 2 years old? Was it already outdated by a couple of years? I believe. I think so. I think the Tegra X1 was a 2015 chip, and obviously the Switch came out in 2017. And it's saying, I guess that's what it's saying here, right? That the 239 came out 4 years. Is that what you're saying? 4 years ago?
Whisper that Switch 2 was supposed to launch earlier, but got pushed to 2025. And now let's grind the chip and see what's inside. This is a die shot of a T239. To be honest with you, the layout looks
at this crazy detail
comparing to other Tegra chips like O-Ring. What we can definitely spot here for now
might Tony K, welcome,
CPU
bro.
cores, GPU cores, and memory controllers. So this is the octa-core A78C.
Right, so I'm going to skip a lot of this part because this is looking inside the die and the GPU.
4 megabytes of shared level 3 cache in the middle, and each.
As I said, I want everyone here to go and watch the whole video, which is in my description below. So, you know, make sure that you give him a sub, follow, and a like. But we're going to skip ahead a little bit to more obvious comparisons.
Well, and we
as interesting as all of this is, which is super detailed, it's insane.
8 nanometer. Are they?
A student bills package from Fuse is the easy way to sort out bills for your student house.
Absolutely, Tony K. Absolutely.
Anyway, since we now kind of know the actual specs of T239,
here we go.
We can probably guesstimate Switch 2's performance. You know, based on the clock speed that leaked a few months ago.
So here we go. So there we got the leaked. These are the you know, well, yeah, we saw the leaked clock speeds of the Switch 2 leak a bunch of months ago. Here it is down here as well. For these are the clock speeds for the NVIDIA T239. So then, knowing that, you can run some games.
So first off, GPU performance.
Hola, ¿qué tal, amigo?
To match T239 on PC is a massively downclocked RTX 2050, a laptop GPU based on Ampere's GA107 with 2048 CUDA cores. It's like a 3050 but with a 64-bit mirror bus, thus much lower bandwidth, similar to Switch 2. In order to mimic T239, we have to downclock the 2050 from its original 1600 MHz to 755 MHz for dock mode, and all the way down to 421 MHz for handheld. And we had to turn down the memory clocks as well. That is no easy feat because NVIDIA enforces minimum
so you see, so basically he gets what is a RTX 250 laptop.
I turned to my friend
and uses that as a basis for what the Switch 2 can do. And then we're going to see some results here of some games he gets running on there.
Can get to a Switch 2
Here we go.
simulation.
This is really interesting.
Let's kick off with GPU benchmarks from
Here we go.
3D Mark.
Here are the GPU benchmarks.
So the performance of Switch 2 stands here and here. Comparing to desktop graphics card, Switch 2 in dock mode performs roughly like a GTX 1050 Ti, plus DLSS and ray tracing of course. To be honest, if you compare it to some mobile chips, this T239 is still quite capable. For example, in dock mode, it's faster than the A18 Pro on iPhone, and faster than the legendary Apple M1, but it lags behind Snapdragon's 8 Elite and AMD's 780M iGPU. Some of you might be curious how it stacks up with the Xbox Series S, but that is really in a different league, let's say.
So that's interesting, right? So you can see that it's it's roughly the same performance as a GTX 1050 Ti, and then you can see at the top here, the moment that right there at the top is the Xbox Series S GPU performance, and it is a ways away, way ahead, and I don't think anyone thought it would be like for like or, really close to the Xbox Series S, but because it's got more memory and more modern architecture and, DLSS, I thought it would be a bit closer than that, though. I did think it would be closer than that. So we can see the Xbox Series S GPU performance is all the way up there, and the Switch 2 is, where's that, 5th on this chart at the moment. So we continue.
And if you add PS5 and RTX 3060...
Oh, sorry, and quickly, yes, as Tony K says, that is before using DLSS, and that is a vital bit of information. That's a vital bit of information because not only, of course, does it have more RAM than the Series S. How much RAM does the Series S have? I think it's 10 gigabytes, right? I think it's 10, and the Switch 2 has 12. But this is before using DLSS, so what you see to the eye, right, it's going to be more impressive on the Switch 2 once you kick in DLSS. So the specs on paper aren't everything, as Tony K says.
The competition, they are basically 4 times of Switch 2 in dock mode. And for handheld mode, Switch 2 is basically a GTX 750 Ti.
So there you go. So Switch in handheld mode is a GTX 750 Ti. I mean, make of that what you will. I just seen editors in that chat. Hey, Mr. Editor, good to see you, bro. Hope you're all well. How's college going? No, finished college, didn't he? How's everything going, Mr. Editor? Good to see you here, bro. What do you make of these Switch 2 specs, bro? Handheld, a GTX 750 Ti. In dock mode, it's looking like a GTX 1050 Ti.
A Steam Deck, even a bit faster than the PS4. And if you compare T239 to its predecessor Tegra X1 on the OG Switch, it is indeed a huge leap in GPU performance. You're looking at roughly a 7x boost in dock mode and about 7.5x in handheld. It is impressive, but it's not the 10x Nvidia has been claiming. I think they probably included DLSS gains in that 10x number. You know, typical Nvidia move, right? And don't get me wrong, having DLSS is indeed fantastic for Switch 2. It can really shoulder a large part of the graphics burden. That being said, we are still not 100% sure if the leaked clock speed is actually true, so there are still mysteries to uncover. Now let's try some games for
Here we go. Now we get to see some games. So,
Cyberpunk 2070.
I don't know what you guys think in the chat. From what we've seen there so far, just on paper, you know, docked looking like a GTX 1050 Ti. You know, not crazily far away from an Xbox Series S, but as Tony K says, once you kick in DLSS, that is the game changer. And you're gonna see what DLSS does here when he does a benchmark on the, I think, was he using a 1050? Ti on a RTX 1050 on the, not 1050, RTX 2050 on the laptop. We're going to see what he does when he tests it with games such as Cyberpunk. But we already know what Cyberpunk's looking like, right? At the moment.
7 is going to launch on day 1 for Switch 2, and CDPR has already partially confirmed the graphic targets, so let's see how it might actually looks like. This is the simulation of docked quality mode. With DLSS quality CNN model, we're getting 30 FPS at low preset 1080p, so it's 720p rendering. But it might sound a little bit mediocre, but it actually looks pretty decent and clear, right? And remember, the real Switch 2 version will be using dynamic res, so it can only be even better than this. And this is how docked performance mode looks like. Still 1080p output, I'm using DLSS performance, so it runs at 40 FPS with 540p rendering. Then handheld quality mode is basically the same graphics with a 30 FPS target. And finally, handheld performance mode. This is the one I'm quite concerned about. 720p output, DLSS performance.
So you always said that, right? So like, in dock mode, quality and performance for CD Projekt Red is 1080, and it goes between 30 and 40 FPS, which is like more than fine, And then, you know, in quality mode, what was it? 1080 30 in handheld, and then performance mode we can see here is 720 30. It seems like, but now at this point we're going to see, I think, where he kicks in the DLSS.
So it's only 360p rendering, targeted at...
So you can see here, let me rewind a little bit. It's got a base rendering resolution of 360p, which is so damn low. But the DLSS kicks it all the way to 720, and look how it looks. That's pretty insane. To say the base resolution is 360 is pretty nuts. Let's go over it again.
And I'm quite concerned about 720p output DLSS performance, so it's only 360p rendering, targeted at 40 FPS. Well, what do you think of the graphics? It's obviously quite blurry for me, but somehow still playable on the portable screen. And I have to say, DLSS really saves the day here. I've never used a DLSS under such a low resolution before, but it just works unbelievably well. Of course, all of this is based on our PC simulation, and the real Switch 2 build will get further engine-level optimization, so just keep that in mind. We also
exactly. So before we show you Wukong, so exactly as Bane was saying, right? Like the fact that he can already get it looking like that, and we know this, CDR are going to be, optimizing it further. They've had the Switch dev kit, they've built it from the ground up, so that's a much more optimized game version on the Switch 2. So that's looking good. What about Wukong?
Counterpart, and it actually runs okay, at least in docked mode. We're hitting 30 FPS with 1080p low preset DLSS balanced. Even in some high pressure thing like the opening here, we can get a pretty playable experience. But the graphics will hit hard if you want higher frame rates. You can get around 40 FPS with DLSS Ultra performance, but it looks like trash. And it does get even harder by switching to handheld, 720p low with DLSS Ultra performance. We're not even getting 30 here. I guess a Switch 2 port of Black Myth Wukong is technically possible, but the devs will have tons of work to do before it can really shine on this hardware. And speaking of possibility, do you know—
So let's rewind that because that was really interesting. So Wukong looks really rough when he's trying to, do a benchmark. So in this shot here, we can see he does get it to 1080p with a base resolution using DLSS of 626p. And he still gets it to 1080, and that looks pretty sweet. And I can't remember what was the frame rate.
Hitting 30 FPS.
30 FPS. So he gets Wukong at 1080p using DLSS with 30 frames per second, which, like, to me again is more than fine. More than fine. Like, oh my day, if you can give me 1080p using DLSS at 30 frames for Wukong, like, I ain't gonna complain at all. That for me is more than fine. And again, should they port this over, as people in the chat have been saying already, they will be, optimizing it way more than, what we're seeing here. So, of course, it's technically possible. As I said, anything, that, for my accounts, what I've seen, anything that can play on the Xbox Series S can play on the Switch 2. Hey, I should see Mr. Bain is in the house as well. Welcome, Mr. Bain. Oh, sorry, Bane's been since the beginning. Sorry, not Bane. Welcome to Bane, of course, again. Mr. Jimmy's in the house. How's it going, Jimmy? Right, let's continue. What's it? Akuma says, the blessed Wukong would like to buy it, but there are many games like Stellar Blade, Lies of P, isn't it? I want. Yeah, Lies of P is amazing. Akuma, Lies of P, Akuma, wah. Right, let's continue.
Low preset DLSS
this is where it starts to look really rough,
though.
Some
high pressure thing like the opening here, we can get a pretty playable experience. But the graphics will hit hard if you want higher frame rates. You can get around 40 FPS with DLSS Ultra performance, but it looks like trash.
Yeah, so you can see there, rewind, this is how Wukong currently will look if you get 1080 and you want a decent 40 FPS. So 1080 40 FPS with a base resolution of 360p would, the DLSS is working overtime here. You can see all the jagged, clouds and stuff. But again, these are like just, very basic benchmarks comparisons. I remember Digital Foundry doing the same thing using, I can't remember which graphic card on a laptop to try and see what Doom would look like on the Switch. And what Doom actually ended up looking like on the Switch was better, ran better, looked sharper, especially with all the updates afterwards. So Panic Button for sure, with all the time they had on the Switch, made Doom and Doom Eternal look amazing and better than what the initial benchmarks done by Digital Foundry thought it would. Let's continue.
With DLSS Ultra performance, but it looks like trash. And it does get even harder by switching to handheld, 720p low with DLSS Ultra.
This is terrible. So now we got it in handheld mode, 720p with a base resolution of 240p. Obviously using DLSS to get it to 720, and this does not look good. But again,
we're not even getting 30 here. I guess a Switch 2 port of Black Myth Wukong is technically possible, but the devs will have tons of work to do before it can really shine on this hardware. And speaking of possibility, do you know what is not possible for Switch 2? Well, it's Monster Hunter Wilds. We're not even getting 30 FPS in dock mode, 720p low with DLSS Ultra performance. Just look at the graphics. Damn, this should be illegal. And not to mention the handheld mode. I don't even think it's worth saving.
That was a 3DS.
Why doesn't every home in the UK have brand new solar panels? The #1 reason is not about the weather.
But lucky enough, there are better optimized AAA titles out there. For example,
so this is cool because I can see this happening. So here we got Witcher 3. Is it Witcher 3? No, it's Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Oh wait, but is it Kingdom Come 2? Which one is it?
Runs at 1080p media. The handheld mode. I don't even think it's worth saving. But lucky enough, there are better optimized AAA titles out there. For example, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 runs at 1080p medium setting.
Oh damn, so there we go. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is a proper intensive game, that game, you can see how possible it would be on the Switch too. So here we go again. If anyone's joining the channel, this is using what this YouTuber says is a authentic Switch 2 motherboard that he bought on what he calls Chinese eBay, and is basically just reverse engineered it. He's testing the specs, doing comparisons with comparable graphics cards. In this case, a RTX 2050 Ti laptop, to guess what future Switch 2 ports will look like. So it's an insane bit of information that's come out today. At the moment, we're seeing a comparison what he thinks Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 would look like on the Switch, docked in 1080p with a base resolution of 540p, using DLSS to get to that higher resolution. I believe running at 30 or 40 FPS. We'll have a look, but it's incredible stuff. But I'm sure Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will come to Switch. The first one is on Switch, of course.
DLSS performance in dark mode simulation, and we got a smooth 30 to 40 FPS.
30 to 40 FPS.
Handheld runs at 720p medium with DLSS performance, and it can also reach 30 FPS.
There you go. And that's in handheld, so we're aware. What we're seeing now is in handheld mode. So, crazy.
Now, online games like Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Warzone 2.0 can also have a chance to get a Switch
Call of Duty Warzone, let's
solid
go!
Performance. I'm talking about over 50 FPS at 1080p low with DLSS Ultra performance in dark mode, and over 40 FPS at 720p DLSS Ultra in handheld. Alright, so by now you got a rough idea of what the T239's GPU can do. But what about its CPU?
So, okay, I haven't seen this yet, but we all know that if there is a weak point to the Switch 2 architecture, and that is rumored to be the CPU. A lot of people saying this, just like the original Switch, the CPU, it's its downfall, and that is basically what is going to make it really difficult to port over some bigger games, especially big open world games. And we all know what we're thinking about is GTA 6. Is the CPU going to be its downfall in regards to whether it could if it could play GTA 6 on the Switch 2? I don't know. Apparently the Switch 2 CPU is the downfall. Let's see what Geekerwan had to say.
8 A78C cores and Octa Prime Core CPU, which on paper sounds way beefier than most smartphones out there. The downside is that it only clocks up to 1.1 GHz, and even lower in dark mode according to the leak. So what kind of CPU performance are we really looking at? To find out, we grabbed an O-Ring NX dev board, one of NVIDIA's siblings to the T239, and locked its 8 Cortex A78 AE cores down to exactly 1.1 GHz and 1 GHz. Running Geekbench 6, the results were underwhelming, let's put it that way.
Underwhelming.
Compared to its GPU's not bad showing, the Switch 2 CPU just can't keep up. It only delivers about 66% of Steam Deck's multi-core score, and that's against the 4-core Zen 2 chip that's already only half the size of a PS5 CPU. The Switch 2 actually...
So there you go. You can see there. Where's that little arrow gone? So that is a bit concerning, but it's what we expected. And again, I think that's why DLSS is going to be so important for the Switch 2. The DLSS is going to be, they're going to be relying on that a lot for ports. So you can see here. So what's this? 66%. The Switch 2 CPU is 66% of what's going on in the Steam Deck, and way below the PS5, which we always knew. I wish there were numbers here for the Xbox Series S, but we can see it is above the PS4, so that, as expected, and way above the PS4. You can see the PS4 right there at the bottom here, just above the Switch. So it is a ways above the Switch, the PS4, but miles behind the PS5, and concerningly behind by quite a distance behind the Steam Deck as well. So, okay, let's continue.
That's already...
Also, thanks for the likes. I think did we hit 10 likes? I don't know, we might have hit 10 likes, so if we have, thank you so much, guys.
Only half the size of a PS5 CPU. The Switch 2 actually lands closer to something like a 10-year-old laptop Haswell i7. If you compare it to mobile CPUs, it's somewhere between a Snapdragon 855 and an Apple A12. That definitely sounds a bit mediocre for 2025. But compared to the Tegra X1 of OG Switch or the PS4's Jaguar CPUs, this is still a massive leap, roughly 6 times the performance over the last gen. So yes, it's not breaking any speed records in 2025, but it's still a serious upgrade over its predecessors. Originally, I was a bit worried that the Switch 2 CPU would be too weak, so I decided to simulate it on my PC. I took an Intel i7 10700KF.
So I think that's cool for now.
And it gets even better.
Oh, hold on, what's this?
Managed a solid 30 to 40 FPS.
Let's just rewind that.
Fired some games. Downclocked to 1.4 GHz with hyper-threading disabled. This is a phase-forward production of the T239 CPU performance. But when I actually fired some games, I realized this supposed to be terrible CPU was stronger than I expected. Even the completely unoptimized PC build of Cyberpunk 2077 managed a solid 30 to 40 FPS of CPU frames. Sure, you'll get occasional stutters or frame drops, but on console that's far easier to smooth out.
Okay.
And it gets even better with Black Myth Wukong. On the same chip, it still cranks out 40 to 50 FPS of CPU frames. With T239's graphics power, the CPU might not even be the bottleneck here. And if you've got a studio with ninja-level optimization chops like id Software, their Doom Eternal will hit a buttery smooth 120 FPS on that crappy CPU, fully leveraging a 120Hz display. I also simulate this performance on mobile using a Dimensity 8400 downclocked to 1 GHz. And you know what? Many mobile titles might as well struggle a bit with this type of CPU performance. Genshin Impact runs around 30 to 40 FPS in the worst thing, and Wuthering Wave mostly hovers in the same range but drops into the low 20s in combat. So now you know the kind of monsters smartphone makers are up against. Like I said, don't worry too much about the CPU, since Switch 2 as a console only have one type of CPU. Developers has a very clear target, and they can squeeze out huge gains by optimizing driver overhead or other things. Our PC and mobile tests just couldn't reflect what a console build can do. In comparison, GPU optimization is definitely more painful because performance gains usually mean sacrificing visual fidelity. Even with techniques like super resolution, you still need raw power to make magic happen. And that's why a lot of consoles are designed with low CPU and high GPU in mind. I mean, just look at the PS4, with only about a third of Switch 2's CPU power, yet somehow ran Cyberpunk at 30 FPS.
See, that's my point, exactly. So we can see, you know, the Switch 2 has way higher CPU performance over the PS4, which did run Cyberpunk 2077. Not great, but it did run it at 30 FPS. So, you know, it's not a surprise then that Cyberpunk looks the way it does. At the moment, it's running, I think they are aiming for 1080, 40 FPS, I believe. That's what they're aiming for. And I think in handheld, was it 1080, 30 FPS, I believe. So, like, there is, as Jimmy said there, right? As Jimmy in the chat says if you can put more pressure on the GPU rather than the CPU, it's not terrible. The CPU itself, it's not terrible, but not ideal. But, you know, that's, you know, the fact that the GPU is a lot heavier, a lot better performing, maybe can take more of the pressure, more of the heavy lifting, so to speak. So, yeah, as I said, you know, the CPU, as he says here, Geekerwan, it's not amazing. It's pretty underwhelming, and we knew it was going to be the downside of the Switch 2. But again, you know, as Bane said, you know, the people, you know, it depends who's optimizing the game. If is it being built from the ground up, you know. So I think it's good. It's a good bit of tech. It's a massive jump over the original Switch, of course, whichever way you look at it.
Crazy, right? Anyway, I guess you might got a better understanding of Switch 2's hardware specs and performance. We're getting busy like hell since we accidentally found this motherboard, and I hope you found this video informative.
Right, so there you go. That's his video. Again, make sure if you want to see the whole video, I have put it in. I have linked it in the description below. So make sure you go and check it out. His channel is amazing, by the way. The amount of detail, we skipped over some of it, but the amount of details that he goes into the actual chips is crazy. So make sure you show him some love. Throw him a sub. Is in the description below. So let me know what you guys think. For my part, I think that the fact that it had been rumored for about 3 years now that the T239 was the rumored chip powering the Switch 2 means it's no surprise that that's what we're seeing now. Again, we knew the CPU was rumored to be its downfall. That does look quite underwhelming, but the fact that it's got 12 gigabytes of RAM was always going to be a nice thing, what would you call it, a nice advantage for Nintendo to play with, and the use of DLSS. And we've seen once again here the use of DLSS is going to be vital when maybe not so much for Nintendo in terms of first-party games, but vital to bringing over those impossible ports, those, Assassin's Creed, those Call of Duties, those Doom, Dark Ages, all these type of massive games, Assassin's Creed Shadows, these type of games, I think, any of them that we see in the future coming to Switch 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's going to be relying heavily on DLSS. But saying that, I'm not one for specs. And if I get to play Doom Dark Ages like at 1080, 60, 1080, 30, 960, I don't even care, I'll be more than happy. And if I get to play CD Projekt, what do you call it, Cyberpunk 2077, 1080, 40, 1080, 40 for me, more than happy. So awesome video, a very detailed teardown of the Switch 2 motherboard. A really comprehensive comparison take to other systems on the market. As he says there, he compares it to a GTX 2050 Ti. And that's what it seems like. And that's pretty impressive. I think most people in the chat are pretty impressed with that, I would say, Let's see what the chat is saying. What do you guys think about that? While you guys talking there, I'm just quickly going to get ready for the next news of the day, because there's a bunch of Nintendo news to go through. I'm not going to lie to you. So let me just get rid of not that. Let me get rid of this and go back over. Okay. So I'm going to read the chat, the messages in a second. I'm just going to see what news there is. Bane says, better than expected. Oh, in fact, let me click on that. Let me just click on that. Bane says, okay, better than expected. It can run a great amount of new gen games, but this is 2025. Optimization are horrible nowadays. Yeah, I mean, ideally, you'd want something a little bit beefier that could run things at just a base resolution, even if it's 30 frames. But I have to admit, I'm more than happy. Seeing what Cyberpunk 2077 as a base looks like to me, running at 1080, 40 frames, I am more than fine with that. I have to admit. There we go. I can't swear, but you guys can read that. As much as I poo on the Switch, it really isn't looking that bad, says Jimmy. I'd like to see more original IPs coming out and not just rehashes, but it doesn't look horrid. Yeah, I agree. Always want new IP. Absolutely agree. So, all right, let me have a quick look-see then, see what other news is. There has been a lot of news today. That just came out a couple of hours ago. Let's have a look. There was rumored of an Xbox handheld leak earlier. Let's have a look-see here. Let's just have a quick little look. What a leaked Xbox might look like. Let's have a look-see here. Oh, what is this? I hate these bloody pop-ups, man. Jesus Lord. There we go. Let's have a look. It says Nintendo Switch 2 finally launches in a few weeks alongside Mario Kart World, and while the console will compete with consoles like the PS5 and Xbox Series XX, for dominance, Nintendo will surely have an eye on handheld PCs like Steam Deck OLED. But what if the two of those competitors join forces? Xbox has reportedly been working on a handheld in partnership with Asus, and it appears the device has now leaked via the United States FCC. The console, which is dubbed Project Kennen, will offer an Asus Rogue Ally style device with an additional Xbox button, according to information from videocards.com. Is there any pictures? What's this? This is what it is? Asus Rogue Ally 2 and Rogue Ally 2 Xbox Edition gaming handhelds leaked. Is that what it's supposed to be? What's the Xbox button? Xbox buttons, yeah, look. Is that what it's meant to be? ASOG, it says Asus Rogue Ally 2 and Rogue Ally 2 Xbox Edition gaming handhelds leaked. Oh, is this a video? You can click on it. Have a look. I don't know. That is a video. It's just pop-ups. We've seen this already. Oh, so this is just a leaked specs that have come out supposedly for the Xbox handheld. What's it? So this is the leaked. Is this the leaked picture? Oh, is that what it's meant to be? Because that looks ugly. Ugly is what it looks like. Oh my god! You know, like in life, not everything that's bigger is better. Not everything that's bigger is better, I have to say. I've got it saved on another screen. Doctor Who. Welcome, by the way, Doctor Who. Is this what it's meant to be? Oh, well, no, that's a Rogue Ally, and it's that's a Rogue Ally. Rogue Ally 2, I should say. Rogue Ally 2. But it's going to have an Xbox button so you can play Game Pass on it. Is that what it's saying? Here we go. Is this what it is here? Is this meant to be the Xbox app Rogue Ally 2? It says it's unclear whether Microsoft plans to launch an Xbox OS for gaming handhelds. More likely, this version will offer deeper integration with the Xbox ecosystem, possibly through a dedicated button to launch the Xbox app on Windows. This is, of course, speculative at this point. The FCC certifications relate to Wi-Fi modules, and these photos were included in reports from Asus and MediaTek. We learned that the Rogue Ally 2 will have a redesigned exterior resembling a gaming controller. It reminds me of GameCube. It does, but not as nice. The back features larger grips, though the screen bezels remain as large as those on the original model and the Rogue Ally X. Unfortunately, there are no photos showing the device powered on, so it's unclear if the screen has been updated. Who says, I thought the stream had dropped. My internet has dropped for a few seconds. Oh, are we still live? Oh, menos mal, Akuma. Estamos aquí vivo todavía. Did we get to 10 likes, by the way? Let me see. I'm not sure. We're trying to get to at least 10 likes today. Are we on 10? Where are we on? I don't even know. I don't know. Oh, 11 like we passed it. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much, friends. Here you go. So the system includes 2 USB Type-C connectors on the top. Side view photos show the thickness of the new handheld. Come on, man. That is ugly. It looks quite bulky, though in practice it may not be as bad. What do you guys think in the chat? Doesn't this look pretty damn ugly to you? Como esto parece feo, no? Super ugly. All right, so there we go. So that's supposedly a leaked Rogue Ally 2 that lets you play Xbox Game Pass on it. And this is the Xbox-like edition. I don't know, man. That looks like part handheld gaming device and part radiator. Maybe it keeps you warm in the winter. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Right, let's see what other news we have here today. 1 second. Oh, here we go. The Switch 2. Here we go. Final Fantasy 7 Remake on the Switch 2. More news concerning that as well. It says Switch 2. Oh, bloody adverts, man. Like I do like pizza, man, but okay. So Switch 2 will get Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and the rest of the remake trilogy too. Square Enix teased the entire set of Maximus remake will make it to the device eventually. Says, here we go. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated was one of the last gen blockbusters revealed to be getting a Switch 2 port during the recent Nintendo Direct, but that game is already 5 years old. What about the rest of the trilogy, including last year's gargantuan RPG adventure Rebirth? It sounds like the Switch 2 will get those as well. You goddamn right it will. Switch 2 is going to get everything. A tease for that was hidden at the end of the latest creative video series for the Switch 2, in which Final Fantasy VII Remake co-director Naoki Hamaguchi spoke about bringing the canon-bending 2020 RPG to the Nintendo platform for the first time. It's expected in 2025, but a specific release date has not been revealed yet. He says, I'm very excited to see this game playable on a portable system, nothing that benefits of being able to play while commuting to work. Both Final Fantasy VII games are Steam Deck verified, but the install base of that PC game and handheld remains tiny. He says, I have high hopes that we can build a strong partnership between Nintendo and the Final Fantasy brand. It says, Hamaguchi ended with a tease for that partnership with entail. Well, sorry, he ended with a tease for what that partnership will entail. He says, I hope players are looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake series on Switch 2. He says, hinting that the second two games, including Rebirth and the currently in development Part 3, will find their way to Nintendo handheld hybrid as well at some point. This is written terribly. Kotaku, man, Jesus Christ. They need to be a lot better when they're writing articles. Get your grammar straight, boys. While Remake, which was available on PlayStation 4, seemed like an obvious port, a Switch version of Rebirth, which struggled with some texture resolution and frame rate problems even on PS5, would be a much more ambitious project. So there you go, though. So it turns out that all the other parts of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be heading over to the Switch 2. I told you, the Switch 2 is going to get the most third-party support it's had since the Super Nintendo all the way back in 1992. They lost third-party support on the N64, on the GameCube. They got some back on Wii, but a lot of it was shovelware. They lost it on the Wii U again, and they came back strong with the Switch. We got a lot of big quality third-party games, like all the Doom games, and we got like Resident Evil games. We got a bunch of games, Witcher 3, bunch of games. But I think the Switch 2 is going to be next level. I think the Switch 2 is going to get very close on par with the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles in terms of support. We already know we're getting Call of Duty. It's been heavily rumored we're going to get all the Assassin's Creed games. So now we got Final Fantasy. I bet anything we're going to get Doom Dark Ages. Of course, we got, what do you call it? Cyberpunk 2077. So I'm expecting big things. Big things. Let's see what the chat is saying. Yo, Derby Beats is in the house. How's it going, Derby Beats? Akuma says, a question, ATB. Now that Switch 2 is a reality, what do you think about the fact that now there is a chance that a game... there's chance that a game that didn't do well enough, in my opinion, will be released there. Starfield! Oh my god. I saw that jump scare as well, Bane. Welcome, DG. Welcome. Hope you're well. How's DG doing? Akuma, I think yo creo que Starfield irá a Switch 2. Estoy seguro que casi todo de Switch, de Xbox, irá a Switch 2. I'm just saying, I think Starfield will be on Switch 2. I expect, honestly, in fact, there is a big story coming up. Let's see if I find it. It's about Xbox basically making almost Nintendo-like games for the Switch 2. Not exclusively. I believe it was Nash Weed. I didn't see if I can find it quickly. Let me just come off. I can't bloody hell. I have to like do it a bit. But yeah, I expect almost everything from the Switch 2. Sorry, from Xbox to be coming to Switch 2. I expect what was there? Obviously all the Call of Duties. Doom I expect on Switch 2. Halo I expect on Switch 2. Man, I'm expecting it. That Gears of War, the first Gears of War remake, I expect that to be coming over to Switch 2. Here we go. We have to go back to Kotaku because there's apparently EA not planning to raise prices on games unlike Nintendo. I do not believe that for a second. I fully expect EA to raise those prices. Let's see what EA is saying. Let's have a look. So it says, during the recent EA earnings call, CEO Andrew Wilson was asked if the Madden and Apex Legends publisher was planning to raise game prices following the recent announcements from the likes of Xbox. And for now, at least, that doesn't seem to be the plan. He says, does he say anything? Says, when Nintendo fully unveiled the Switch 2 via a lengthy direct in April, many were shocked to see that the company charging $80 for Mario Kart World For the last few years, the video game industry has mostly settled on a big new game costing $70, but Nintendo broke that barrier with Mario Kart World and upset fans in the process. Then in May, Xbox announced it was also raising game prices on first-party titles. So now investors are asking other game companies if they plan to do the same thing. And EA so far is saying no, apparently. On May 6, EA held a Q4 and final year 2025 earnings call and took some questions from various investors. During the call, one person asked Wilson about the pricing power of EA's franchises and whether the company was going to start taking a similar approach to the other game publishers who were raising prices. Wilson replied that the video game industry is very different today than it was a decade ago. Back then, it was all about selling disc and plastic boxes in stores. Now, that's a very small part of EA's overall business, and they have a wide variety of pricing options from free-to-play all the way to deluxe editions and beyond. At the end of the day, he said, Wilson, whether we're doing something that costs $1 or we're doing something that costs $10 or we're doing something that costs $100, our objective is always delivering incredible quality and exponential value to our player base. So, I mean, it doesn't say no. It basically says, like, whatever they're going to charge, they're going to make sure that the quality reflects that price. So there's not this, they're not saying they're not going to release games for $80. It says whether we're doing something that costs $1, $10, or something that's $100, our objective is always delivering incredible quality, exponential value for our player base. So that's not them saying no. They do continue though. From a game's perspective, we have reflected no changes in our current strategy at this point. So they maybe not right now, but they are gonna put games at $80 and above. It's EA, for God's sake. Come on now. So that's what they're saying. Elsewhere, what other news was there today before we finish today's video? It has been a very good video today, I have to admit. Let's have a look. Elsewhere, Split Fiction, which is coming on day 1 to Switch 2, has surpassed 4 million copies. Excellent. This story I did like, right? Because there's a lot. Farino's in the house. How's it going, Farino? There's been a lot of talk about the Nintendo games that are coming out as physical key cards, right? That you get a cartridge, but that doesn't have the game on it. You know, all it is a gateway to put into the Switch 2 and then download the game. The only upside to a game key cartridge over what we used to get on the Switch, which was just a code in the box, is that these new cartridges, you can then resell them, but they don't have the game in them. So a lot of people are really upset about this because it seems especially third parties are basically putting all of their ports on these cartridges that don't have any game content on them. Instead, they just have a code within them that you put into the Switch and download it, except for CD Projekt Red, that are putting the entirety of Cyberpunk 2077 on a cartridge. So it's fully there in an actual physical form. It's insane that we have to use that as a selling point. But if you want to support physical media, make sure if you have a Switch 2 when it releases or afterwards, make sure that you support the developers like CD Projekt Red who are releasing their games on actual physical media. So to go into that story, they actually commented on game key cards. It says Switch 2 cartridges with full game inside is the right thing to do, says Cyberpunk 2077 dev. So he says third party, this is on Screen Run, by the way, and it says the third party lineup for the Nintendo Switch 2's launch is fairly robust, and among the heavy hitters is the perennially popular RPG Cyberpunk 2077. Game key cards for the Switch 2 are causing quite a stir for being a physical download voucher for a digital game. And Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red has weighed in on the discussion. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition contains the entire game on its Switch 2 cartridge, meaning there are no downloads required to play the game unless you need an additional language pack. By the way, let me just put on some music for the love of God. We want some background music now for, you know, some ambience. Yeah, so no downloads required unless you need additional language pack. Speaking with the game's business via Eurogamer, VP, Vice President of Business Development at CD Projekt Red, Jan Rosner, said of Cyberpunk coming complete on the cartridge, the right thing to do was to have it out on the cartridge with a plug-and-play experience. Rosner says physical editions are especially important to Nintendo audience, partly because of storage concerns, which is, of course, another thing. The Switch storage, what is it, 256 gigabytes? Man, this game alone is like 55 or something, you know, so there you go. And Call of Duty, as Tony in the chat said before, God knows what Call of Duty on the Switch 2 is going to be in terms of size. But he carries on. He says, a game like The Witcher 3 would take up 80% of your internal memory, but a plug-and-play experience is a really cool thing. He continues, do not underestimate the physical edition. It's not going anywhere, and Nintendo players are very appreciative of physical editions that are done right. So there you go. So, you know, as I said, like most games, I think almost every game I've seen from third party is coming on these, like, you know, this little discs here. So you can, in fact, you can see if I click on it here. Is this him up here? So there you go. Street Fighter 6 coming on a key, what do you call it? A key code cartridge. Sonic, which Sonic is this? Bloody adverts right in the way. It's so annoying. But whatever Sonic that is, that's a game key card. You can see at the bottom here where the mouse is. It's game key card. Yakuza 0 game key card. And this is what they look like. It's got a little key logo here, and there's no actual game memory on there. It's just, you know, a cartridge that has a code in it that allows you to download the Switch 2 game. But you can resell it afterwards, so that's the only thing. So at least though, CD Projekt Red they are doing the right thing, and they are putting the entirety of Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2. So that is awesome. That's what I will be buying it day one. In fact, I'm going to be playing it a lot more than Mario Kart World, let me tell you. In terms of other news, let's have a look before I take everyone's comments and questions. So get them ready. Whatever questions you have in the chat, get ready. We're going to have a little look, have a little chat together. Let's see if there's any more news. Let's have a look. Oh, this was one of the main ones. How could I forget this? This was one of the main ones. Nintendo is watching, people. Nintendo is watching us because Nintendo can record Switch 2 game chat audio and video. So you better be careful what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're gesturing, because Nintendo and Mario are watching. Yes, indeed. Let's get into this story. This was going to be my main story before the leak of the the motherboard for the Switch 2 came out. It says here, Nintendo may record audio and video from game chat sessions on the Switch 2 to provide a safe and secure environment for players. The game chat feature will let players share their screens and chat with friends in-game. The Switch 2 will launch on June 5th. Here we go. So, this is by Game Run. Nintendo has revealed that it may record game chat sessions on the Switch 2, including both audio and video. The game chat feature will allow Nintendo Switch 2 players to share their screens and chat with friends in-game, and to help maintain a safe environment, Nintendo will be keeping an eye out for anyone causing trouble. We're looking at you. We're looking at you. I know, DG, I know. Ruru says, I'm not getting a Switch 2. I mean, to be fair, who knows who's watching us through PC and mobile? Exactly. You're watching me now through my camera. Announced during a dedicated direct live stream held early in April, the Nintendo Switch 2 will launch on June 5th for a base price of $450, with Mario Kart World bundle available for $499. The new hybrid system will boast... Oh, is this it? Hold on. There you go. So it says the system will boast several major improvements over its predecessor, including 4K and HDR support, 256 gigabytes of storage space, and a 7.9-inch screen. Players can also look forward to 1080p visuals with a frame rate of up to 120 FPS, a major boost over the original Switch 2 720p resolution. Nintendo is clarifying some information about the Switch 2's new game chat feature, with the company eager to start things out on the right foot. It says, Nintendo recently updated its privacy policy, spotted by Nintendo Soup, with the statement now confirming that the company may potentially record audio and video from game chat sessions on the Switch 2 to provide a safe and secure environment for players. This announcement came soon after Nintendo detailed how game chat would work, with players needing to add accepted contacts to their friends list before manually toggling game chat approval on, ensuring that strangers won't be able to join random sessions. Additionally, parents of children under 15 years old will need to head to the Switch 2 parent control to turn on game chat functionality. What does it say here? Nintendo may record game chat audio video to the Switch 2 for safety purposes. So that's obviously is Nintendo. Nintendo is a very safety first type of company. So you know, man, you know Nintendo's always good. I kind of expected them to mention something like this on the actual presentation. I think that's kind of that for that. Let's see what other news is here. Hey, Biria507 is in the chat as well. ¿Qué tal, Biria? ¿Cómo estás, amigo mío? Estamos yendo por todos los stories de hoy. Había uno grandísimo que alguien tiene el motherboard, el chip del Switch 2 y parece bien. But we're gonna finish it. ¿Qué tal, amigo? Te tengo que hablar porque quería preguntarte si querías estar en mi podcast, quizás mañana. Quiero ver si quieres estar en mi podcast. I want to do a podcast tomorrow and I want Bidia507. So if you want Bidia507 in my podcast tomorrow, make sure you hashtag 507 in the chat. One of my best friends and the best YouTuber out there. Best YouTuber, Bidia507. Here we go. This is an insane one. I've just seen this one right now. Level 5 CEO. Video games are being made 80 to 90% by AI. What in the blue hell is going on here? So here we go. So I'm going to do this, and then there's one more story afterwards. Make sure you hit that like, and then we're going to call it a day. We've been on an hour. These videos are meant to be half an hour long, for God's sake. So what the hell is going on here? Level 5. So level 5, here we go. This is insane. I'm going to have to read here. I can't see it properly. It says, level 5 president, where is it? Akira, oh, let me read it here. President Akihiro Hino believes that 80-90% of video games coding is being done by artificial intelligence. The news comes from a recent interview with Japanese gamers like Famitsu. He went on to say that in order for developers to be the best in the business, they will need to be fully proficient at using AI tools and to use their aesthetic sense to further refine their work. Here's what he had to say about it. Through this program, I hope many of you will get to soar to the global stage as game developers. While I am also actively working as a developer, I've recently found myself thinking that AI technology is encroaching upon the creative world. Currently, around 80 to 90% of codes are written by AI. Let that sink in, friends. Let that sink in. Oh, wait, who's leaving? Akuma White! Akuma White's leaving because BDR507's here. He says, this is insane. Let that sink in. This is crazy. Currently, around 80 to 90% of codes are written by AI and then fixed up and finalized by human programmers. In other words, it means that right now, around 80 to 90% of games are made by AI. And it does not just stop at programming. AI technology is encroaching on art, music, and even game design on a large scale. Not to mention that it's already becoming common sense in the creative world to rely on the power of AI to boost work efficiency. So there you go. We always knew this was going to go in this direction. It's been going like that already for a while. It's only going to get more and more. I believe EA uses AI for its FIFA games to generate more stadiums, to even work on the motion, the physical motion of its characters, like, you know, when the footballers are running and such. So they use AI for that. We know it's going to be used by, you know, almost every developer. You know, I mean, you know, Nintendo at some point will incorporate AI in some way, shape, or form. We already know it's using, of course, well, obviously DLSS as, you know, a form of, you know, AI upscaling. And Nintendo's even patented their own form of AI upscaling. So sadly, you know, it is where the industry is going in a lot of ways. You know, we're still going to see incredible games, of course, by the most talented teams, but we're probably going to see some new low levels of shovelware in the future as well. So we'll see. Let's see if there's any more stories before I go to the final, which will be just taking comments and questions from the chat. I think that's it. I think that's it for now. I think we got through most of the big stories. Yeah, I think we have. Yeah. Although, it says here, Civ 7 Nintendo Switch 2 Edition features revealed, including large maps. So let's have a see. This will be the last story of the day, and then I'm going to go through the comments and questions. Thank you so much, everyone who's tuning in today. Been a good day. It says, Civ 7 Nintendo Switch 2 Edition featured revealed, including larger maps, improved multiplayer, game chat, and more. Let's go. Yeah, but you know what? I've never played a Civilization game. I've got one on the Switch. I think I bought, was it Civ 6 I got on the Switch? I do want to try one because people who love them love them. It says 2K and Firaxis Games have confirmed how Sid Meier's Civilization 7 on Switch 2 Edition compares to the original Switch version. It says, what's this? Behavior Interactive has led on the port in collaboration with the developer, which will have a Switch 2 Edition package of $8.99, $10 for those who have already purchased the game on the portable home console. And so what it says, let me get rid of these pop-ups. Compared to the original Nintendo Switch 2 version, compared to the original Switch version, the Switch 2 version will offer supports game chat functionality. Players can take advantage of the new game chat features on the Switch 2 while playing multiplayer with friends. Supports Joy-Con 2 controller mouse support. Of course it's going to have mouse support. Players can play with 2 Joy-Con controller as a mouse to have a PC-like experience on their Switch 2. Surely Mr. Jimmy, if he's still in the chat, is going to buy this now. Increased graphical fidelity compared to the Switch. Civilization 7 on Switch 2 offers higher graphic fidelity. Supports larger map sizes. Players on Switch 2 have larger map sizes, offering standard map sizes not available on the Switch version. It also supports more players in multiplayer compared to Switch 1. Player on Switch 2 can play with 5 players in the Antiquity Age and Exploration Age, and up to 8 players supported in the Modern Age at launch. Increased performance. Players will experience increased frame rate performance compared to the Switch version. Yes, indeedy, my friends. That is what you can expect. Let me just get ready now. Give me a sec. 1 second, my good friends. Okay, so that was all the news for today. I'm gonna switch over and check out all the comments, see what the comments are saying. So let's get to the comments, my good friends. We can see right here, if you have any questions, any comments, this is gonna be the last 5 minutes of the video. Let's try and get through everyone's comments before we say goodbye. So let me just get them up here so I can see them. Oh, bloody. Sorry, but 1 second, Mr. Bain. I've just seen your question. Why can't I see? There we go. There it is. Right, you know what? I'm going to switch. 1 second, babe. I'm going to switch to the other page so I can see it, so I can have it highlighted as well, because I think it's good to have. 1 sec. Okay, 1 sec. Why can't I see it? So I have game chat in the back. All right, so Bane says,
I'm still ahead of all of you guys.
Music. Right. Okay, so Bane says, what about, here we go, what about GTA games? Will Switch 2 have GTA 5? Still don't think that it will get GTA 6. What do you guys think in the chat? Who in the chat thinks GTA 6 will be coming to the Switch 2? Yo, Bane in the super chat. You didn't have to do that, my friend. Thank you so much for the tube out. Everyone, make sure you hashtag Bane in the super chat. So kind, bro. What a kind dude. Thank you so much, Mr. Bane. Way too kind, my friend. Thank you so much. And make sure everyone in there, make sure you give Bane a shout out. I do think that the hold on, let me just get this. I do think GTA 6 is going to come out on the Switch. I must admit. I think it can handle it. What worries me about it, Bane, is whether, let me just do that. Oh, hold on. Oh, so you guys all seen that the whole time? Bloody hell, I'm so stupid. What worries me is whether the audience is there. That's the biggest worry for me. Is whether the audience is there. And it's kind of the same reason we didn't get GTA 5 on the original Switch, because the GTA 5 could have ran on the original Switch. It was on the PS3, for God's sake, right? It was on the PS3, so it could have ran. And we did get, you know, and 2K did put a bunch of games on the Switch. They did put what do you call it? Noir. What's it called? What's it called? The other open world game, Thingy Noir. I forgot what it's called now. I can't remember what it's called now. You know, we did get a bunch of games from them, you know, but so I think it could have ran, but I think it's two things for me, right? I think 2K and Rockstar are worried about the online infrastructure of the Switch, of Nintendo in general. I think they worry how a big game like that would work online with Nintendo. And I'm still not convinced. Oh wait, yeah, we got Red Dead. We got Red Dead. I'm still not convinced that that Rockstar think there is enough of an audience for GTA on Switch or on a Nintendo system, which sounds insane. Super Mario Glitch production. Yeah, no, I've just got it as a background. What I wanted actually was a Switch 2. Let's put that as the background. I wanted the Switch 2. Oh, hold on. I wanted the Switch 2 Direct. I can't fucking see it. I can't see it now. Was it this one? Hold on. Direct. Let me just get that as a background. Oh, I might just leave the Mario Kart because that was, how long was it? 1 second, friends. I think it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. So let's leave this in the background. Yeah. So it's like, and I think the reason we might not see GTA 6. Let's say it runs, right? Let's say it can run on the Switch 2. We already know it's running on the Xbox Series S, right? So we already know GTA 6 runs on Xbox Series S. So let's say it can run on the Switch 2. The problem, the thing is though, whether a Nintendo audience would buy in big numbers, right? And now you go back to the Switch, as much as we got games like Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein, Witcher 3, what do you call it? You know, all the rest, you know, a bunch of Resident Evil games. What's the one I'm thinking of as well? Kingdom Come, right? Like, I'm curious about how much those games sold. Like, how much did Doom Eternal sell? Like, did it sell 1 million? I don't think Doom Eternal sold 1 million. And you have to think, let's say it didn't sell. Let's say it came just shy of 1 million, right? Doom Eternal on a console that sold 150 million systems. You would hope that Doom Eternal would sell more than 1 million, right? Like, The Witcher 3, how many copies did The Witcher 3 sell? How many copies did Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the first Kingdom Come Deliverance sell? How much did that sell on the Switch? You know, how much do like EA's games? You know, how much did the Batman games sell? So I'm worried, right, that that maybe those games didn't sell enough to convince everyone, right? A lot of developers still are putting their games. Like, look, the fact we're getting Cyberpunk from CD Projekt Red, who of course did put The Witcher 3 on the original Switch, right? And so I'm really hoping that people buy that game, and you know, you can point to some things, some reasons why maybe some gamers hadn't bought third-party games on the original Switch, right? The fact that they came a year late, the fact that they were downgraded, right? All of those things are reasons why some people who already own 2 consoles might not buy it on the Switch, even if the factor of it being able to be played on the go was, you know, a temptation. Maybe, you know, the downgrade and the fact that it came a year or more afterwards isn't you know, good enough. So if on the Switch 2 that changes, right? I know, like, one of the biggest games that are hyped for launch is Cyberpunk 2077, which is, you know, X amount of years old already. But it's a very good port. It's, you know, if it's running 1080, 40 frames, that's a good port, especially on the go. So my hopes are, this is a long-winded way to answer Bane's question. My thoughts are, if the Switch 2 can get to a place where going forward, they can get the next Call of Duty on the same day as it is on the PS5 and Xbox, if they can get the next Assassin's Creed on the same day, if they can get the next, I don't know, whatever, man, whatever the next AAA game is, right? If they can get those ports on day one, then I think more people will consider buying them on the Switch 2. And that in turn will mean that, you know, more developers will put their games on the Switch 2, but developers like Rockstar. That's my worry, because I have no doubt Doom Dark Ages will be on Switch 2. I have no doubt, but people have to buy them. And I do think, as a you know, another note on that, I do think, and I've had this discussion, I don't know if Bidia is still there. I've had this discussion with Bidia for a long time. I do think the onus is a little bit on Nintendo, right? I do think Nintendo has to be the one to help out third parties even more than people think they should. Like, whatever that means, right? Giving them way more of a spotlight on Nintendo Directs, right? On the eShop, all of that kind of stuff, right? Advertising, whether it's helping out with the what do you call it, financially, in terms of, you know, the release of the game, in terms of publishing, that kind of stuff, right? Nintendo needs to really put these games in front of their audience's eyes all the time. Like, I can't be living in a world where, like, I don't know, Doom Eternal sells less than like Mario Golf, but that is a reality, you know. And I love Mario Golf, but Mario Golf and Mario Tennis on the Switch were not good games, right? But it seems like whatever game Nintendo releases with Mario's face on it sells 5 million plus straight away, you know. Even what's Princess Peach? What was it called? Princess Peach. That sold. What was that sold? Even that sold 2-3 million, right? And that game was like a meh game. That game probably outsold Witcher 3, Doom Eternal, all of those games, right? But with the Nintendo audience needs to get to a place where it's much more willing to buy those third-party games, right? And a big part of that is those games being released day and date, you know, as the other system. So that's a massive thing. So, but to answer it, do I think GTA 6 comes to Switch 2? Oh man, I feel like, yeah. But the thing is, I was convinced GTA 5 would be on Switch. I was convinced GTA 5 would be on Switch, but and it wasn't, right? But this time around, the fact that the Switch 2, you can't get pre-orders, the fact that it looks like analysts are saying it's going to be the biggest launch of any console in history, which means the Switch 2 is coming out of the gates fast, right? Fast. They're gonna have a guaranteed massive install base within the first 6 months. So that should already chill out, you know, any developers that are worried about whether there's going to be, you know, Switch fatigue and all this kind of stuff, whether it's not, you know, the Switch 2 isn't brand new enough in comparison to the first console. It looks like, you know, it looks like Nintendo have released what people were asking for, just a way more powerful Switch that can run current games better. It looks like that's what we're getting. It looks like that's what people wanting, because the pre-orders are out of control. And the fact that GTA 6 isn't coming out now until 2026, and that's if you believe it's coming out in May 2026. I don't. So they got time, right? If they're not already working on that port, they got time. And now that they've got this Xbox Series S as a standpoint, as a base for optimizing it and porting it over on the Switch, it's definitely possible. 86 says he does. He says GTA 6 on Switch 2. Yeah. Yes, Mr. DG. I'm gonna be doing it this week. I might even be doing it this weekend, DG. I'm gonna be doing it in the next few days. But I think I might be doing it on Sunday. I think it's gonna be Sunday, DG. Right, do we have any more questions? What's going on? Technically, that's a question. I'm well, Jaden Christopher. How's it going, bro? Good to see you as always. Good to see you as always. Did they fix Doom Eternal for Switch 2? Yeah, what was wrong with it, Tony? I do know there was loads of updates for it. Like I believe it runs at a locked 30 FPS now. I believe it's 720p locked 30. Oh, you have to go. No problem, DG. Have a good one, bro. Have a good one. I have LG TV OLED. Oh man, I need to get a new monitor. I need to get a new monitor for the Switch 2 because the one I've got the main monitor, which is my PC, but that's where I do all my OBS and streaming. And I've got another monitor here on the side, which is my gaming one, but there's only 1080. I need to get a 4K one. Here you go. Bane says Rockstar's aura is unmatched. They announced a game for next year in May. Nobody will release a game in the same month. That is true. That is yeah, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. DG says June 5th is very, very, very soon. Switch 2 coming out June 2nd, June 5th, I believe, mate. Akuma says, Akuma, the new Mario Kart is too beautiful. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Derby Beast is coming. And Farino, that is the game I was talking about. LA Noire, thank you. LA Noire, that is the game I was talking about. Tony says, not sure what, but they said they were looking into it. Oh, I don't know. Last time I checked, like in terms of updates, they optimized it really, really well. It plays really well. It's not as sharp as the original, as Doom 2016 on the Switch, but it runs higher FPS. Or they both run at 30 now, I believe. So right, it looks like that's the end of today. Let me get things ready. I do want to thank everyone before I go. Again, thank you so much for all the likes. Thank you everyone who tuned in today. Don't forget, let me just hold on a second. Let me just pop something. I don't know if you guys can see that. Don't forget, we do have, there we go. You can see the Switch 2 giveaway. We're going to be doing a 24-hour stream on the day of the release of the Switch 2, assuming I get mine on release. I have mine pre-ordered. So, you know, if you want to be in the running, make sure you tune in on the first day of release, and we will be giving away a Switch 2 on day 1. You lucky, lucky people. God damn, you guys are lucky. Let me just get rid of that bad boy. 1 second. There we go. Okay. And there is another question. Pancakes. Hold on. Has it popped up? It hasn't popped up. 1 second, Ben. Let me get that so you can see it. Pancakes or waffles? God diggity damn. Pancakes, but not American pancakes. I like crepes. Do you guys crepes? I call them crepes. Like they're like the thin pancakes. Those are the best ones. The really thin ones with sugar and lemon sprayed on it. Oh, and French toast. Oh my, absolutely, man. Yo, French toast, Tony. French toast rules. Is there Canadian toast? I don't know. I assume there must be. I assume there must be Canadian toast. I assume so. Right, that is gonna do it for today's video. I had fun. I was gonna actually record a video. I've got a method now that what I do is on the days I'm working, I do live news videos because I'm too tired to record and then edit. So I come home and do it live. And then on the days I'm off, supposedly I would just record a video and edit it because I've got the day to do it. And I was gonna do that today, but then at the last minute, that news broke out with the YouTuber who basically bought a secondhand Switch 2 motherboard. That leaked, so I knew everyone was gonna be talking about it. So I thought, damn it, I've got no time to record this. I'm just gonna go live. So that's why I'm live today. Ordinarily, on the days I'm off, like tomorrow, I will be doing recorded videos. I just like doing them more because they're tighter and more polished, you know, and I like the way they look. This can be a bit messy and sometimes complicated, and I mumble a lot, so I'm sorry about that. Right, so let me say thank you to everyone who joined us. Tony, of course, Mr. Bane with the super chats as well, who deserves all these claps. Of course he does. All the claps he deserves. Oh my Lord. Let me just, hold on, get this ready as well. 1 second, bro. Right, perfect. Right, and also, so Bane as well. Super Mario Glitch, thank you so much, my friend, for tuning in. And DG, of course, 86, who believes GTA 6 is going to be coming out to Switch 2. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. 86. Again, Mr. Bain, Jaden Christopher, of course. Kuma White, muchísimas gracias por pasar por aquí. Y como no, Bidia507 también. Darby Beats, Farino, thank you so much for tuning in, my good friends. Mr. Jimmy tuned in earlier as well. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I said Bidia507, of course. Tony K was in the house earlier. If you're still there, Tony K, thank you so much for dropping in, my good friend. Awesome to have you here as always. Let me just scroll up. Doctor Who was in the house. God bless you, Mr. Doctor Who, for coming to the stream. Thank you so much for spending time with us, bro. Awesome to have you here. Ioku was in the house. And I don't know if I read his question, but he says, I think it will be close to Xbox X due to how good Street Fighter 6 looks better on Switch 2. Street Fighter 6, by the way, go have a look on YouTube. Does look better on the Switch 2 than it does on Xbox Series S. Fact. Editor, thank you so much, Editor, for tuning in, my good friend. I hope everything with you is awesome as always. Ciudadana, ¿qué tal, Ciudadana? Muchísimas gracias por pasar por aquí. Y claro, como Sandwich, estás allí en el chat. Muchísimas gracias a ti por pasar por aquí. Pat Campion also tuned in. Thank you so much, Mr. Pat. Hope you're well. Rock and roll. I didn't even see you there, bro. Welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Right, that's all it lets me see for now on, which is very, very annoying. But everyone, hope you all have an awesome day. I shall see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, if anyone's interested, I will be appearing on Nintendo Prime's podcast today. I'm not sure what time it is. It's probably in about 6 hours from now or something like that. So check out his podcast. I will be live later on tonight on his podcast with a bunch of awesome guests. So thanks for that, so much for that, Nintendo Prime. And I'll see you all later, friends. Have an awesome one. Take care, everyone. Bye.